everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Melanin Money Show. So, I mean, I must have really loved the last episode because as y'all can see, it's just the boys again for 2 episodes in a row. Yeah, we back at it. But nah, all jokes aside, Jacqueline, just as a thing that she to take care of and show up and show out for you guys. And we wanted to extend that grace to her while we still kept our commitment to showing up to you guys and providing value. As you can see, there's another backdrop from last week. Last week I was in Atlanta. This week I'm in Jamaica. So, probably about 7 episodes ago, I was getting on Carter's case for spending 30 days out of the country. But that's what it's all about, right? Like creating a lifestyle where you can work from anywhere and still, provide value and do what you love. So with no further ado, let's get it started. Carter, how you doing, bro?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. And kudos to you, man. The commitment, I love it. Like, you're in Jamaica, right?
Yeah, Jamaica.
Yeah. And I'm like, bro, you sure you want to do it? Like, man, I got it. It's the commitment. And like, as a partner, I just appreciate the commitment. And like, again, whether we in Colombia, Jamaica, whatever, like we gonna make it happen. And we do it for y'all. We do it for y'all because y'all deserve the consistency. And y'all already know that it's currency in consistency. So yeah, bro, let's get into today's topic. One of my favorite topics. So let's get right into it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, one of the reasons why we're able to, work while we travel, Carter while he was in Colombia, me while I'm currently in Jamaica and Atlanta last week, is we set up our lifestyle around our business, right? So, both of us, years ago, used to work for, companies, corporate companies, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? Like if that's your path, that's what you want to do, that's absolutely okay. But the challenge with that is it doesn't give you as much autonomy, as much flexibility and freedom to be able to navigate your life on your own terms. And so, one of the things we want to talk about today is the pros, cons, and just, what does it look like to be an entrepreneur? And I know this is one of Carter's favorite subjects. This is one of my favorite subjects. So we're just gonna have a really organic dialogue around like what that looks like in the lifestyle of an entrepreneur.
Yeah, and more specifically, like Black entrepreneurship. Like right now, it's still so crazy to me, especially like when I go to Atlanta, right? Like Black entrepreneurship is like this wave that is just came out of nowhere. It's ridiculous. Like being a Black entrepreneur right now, it's like, being a superhero. It's just like, everybody's doing it and people are highly successful. So like, I just want to like talk about like, this Black entrepreneurship wave, man. Is it a wave? Is it here to stay? Like, have we found the Holy Grail? Are we starting now to get back the rewards of our ancestors or whatever the case? Like, is it here to stay? So before we just dive into that topic, I just want to talk about like back in the day, right? At least for me, right? When I was a kid growing up, like looking up to people, all you wanted to do was 3 things, right? Play sports, so become a basketball, football player, become a rapper, or be a dope boy. So like that was the 3 things that you had to look forward to. Like, and for this episode, I'm wearing the new age CEO, not a rapper, not an athlete, but an entrepreneur shirt in the essence of today's episode. But like, yeah, when I was a shorty, that's all we had to look up to, those 3 things. And now, kids in this generation, like I think might be even looking up to entrepreneurs more. Yeah. They look up to athletes and rappers. Like, do you feel like that's the case? Like, where did all this come from? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I think it's as simple as this, right? When you think about your teachers who were in school, like the only reason why you didn't look up to a lot of them is because they didn't mimic the lifestyle that you wanted, right? At the end of the day, it's based upon the lifestyle that you want. The vehicle that you choose to get to that lifestyle arguably is interchangeable. Like you said, dope boy, rapper, or athlete, right? The vehicle, those were just the vehicles that we thought were accessible to us. So it's not the vehicle that people are attached to, right? It's the lifestyle that those people were able to afford based upon those vehicles that they chose. And so I think entrepreneurship has given people another path. It's like, oh wait, I don't have to be super athletic, right? I don't have to do nothing illegal. Wait, and I can just run up a bag. Different ball game, right? And so I think that's what we're seeing young, flashy is relative, but people that are doing the things that you want to do, and they're doing it on their own terms, and they're using a vehicle that was not necessarily as prominent before, which is entrepreneurship. And I think that's what we're seeing.
Yeah, no, I think it's absolutely right, man. And I remember, I think it was me and you were hiking like Orion Canyon. You came out here or something, and we were just like, yo, like we know entrepreneurs who are making more than athletes. right?
Yeah.
Like I know for a fact, like I'm making more this year than some NBA players are going to make as salary. You know what I'm saying? And it was my first recollection, like, holy shit, like, bro, we as entrepreneurs can really make a bag equal to rappers, to athletes, to dope boys without the risk, without the rules, and with ultimately the freedom. We don't have to show for 82 games, right?
Yeah.
So I think to your point is crazy. Like, you know, as kids, we just wanted the outcome. We didn't care what means it took. We took the easiest route. So if you're good at sports it is. If you had good lyricist ability, rapping it was. If you ain't have either one of those, you're looking at being a dope boy. So we just want the easiest route. And now it seems like entrepreneurship is giving us a route that we can, you know, take on our own and form our own lane. So
Yeah.
one, I'm love it. I'm here for it. And I can't wait to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly behind it, because I want to give people perspective. But like,
Yeah.
in your eyes, when did you first notice like Black entrepreneurship being cool in the Black community? Like being portrayed as like, yo, this is dope. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's a great question, man. So let me go back. So I've been an entrepreneur on some level since about like 2011, 2012. I would probably say when I started to see more, rappers talking about the business side, right, of what they were doing, right? So when Jay was talking about like the deals that he was making, and instead of glorifying the street hustle or, you know, the things he used to talk about, he started talking about like how he was getting a bag off these business plays, right? And so it was almost like a conduit because it was still rooted in culture and rap, but then the focus shifted from like the traditional stuff that people talked about in lyrics, and it was cool to talk about how you were securing bags through business plays, right? So I think that was the first inclination. And then from there, because that became cool, people who had no desire to be rappers was like, okay, cool, well, that's the new thing, right? I got a percentage of the Nets, or I own a percentage of Armadale Vodka, whatever. Well, I'm gonna just go straight to that, because it's not likely that I'm gonna be an athlete or likely to be a rapper. I'm gonna just go straight to the thing that everybody thinks is cool. So I think that was the transition. I can't put like an exact like year or time frame on it, but I started to see people gravitating more towards the plays and the money moves that rappers were making. And then I think from that vantage point, people like myself, people like you, and other people were starting to now just gravitate towards the plays themselves versus feeling like I had to be a rapper in order to, like, you know, get to that next level. So I think that's when I started to see the evolution as it relates to entrepreneurship.
No, man, that's real, man. That's real. And for me, it was a little bit different. So like, I mean, I played sports in high school, like, you know what I'm saying? But I was never like great. And like, I knew I was okay, but like, this ain't gonna work. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I can't rap worth a damn. So I'm sitting there like, okay, like you know, my athletic abilities aren't phenomenal. You know, my lyrics abilities are lackluster, if they even have any, period. It's like, what am I going to do to rely on, right, to make the money that I want to make? And, you know, I just remember I always knew my brain was my best asset. I just didn't know how I could use it to catapult me to this lifestyle that I wanted. Right. Like I felt, and I knew that I can learn anything, but how is that going to take me further? So, you know, with that said, man, like I started like, you know, I see some entrepreneurs on Instagram, like, okay, that's, you know, cool. But like, I didn't really pay too much attention to it because, like, again, from a person who had no parents, like a job and stability is like a core principle for me. So, but I started seeing it, man. I started seeing it more. And again, like your proximity, your environment is everything. The fact that my cousin who I lived with for, you know, 5 years at the, you know, well, I knew him, you know, we lived together since like shorties, but like he never had a job a day in his life, but he was always financially straight. So for me, it's like, yo, like he's showing me every day, whether it's tattoos, whether it's music, whether, you know, whatever his, you know, he had a deal with Air Force One to paint on the Nike shoes. Like he found a way, you know what I'm saying? And it was just like, yo, it showed me that like it's possible. So, you know, when I leaned into this entrepreneur thing, I'm like, it's possible because, again, I saw people that look like me doing it. Again, I don't care how many Mark Zuckerbergs there is or whatever. It takes me to see someone who looks like me doing this for me to actually believe that I can achieve it.
That's a fact. That's a fact. And, you know, when I think now kind of just venturing into pros and cons of entrepreneurship, when I got in, I think one of the challenges that people feel with entrepreneurship, especially on like social media, is, at the end of the day, we're highlighting segments, sound bites, and glimpses of the process, right? Like we're not showing every nuance or every nooks and cranny. And so I think one of the joys of entrepreneurship is you truly have the ability to earn an unlimited amount of income. To Carter's point, right? Like there's athletes that we earn more money than, 100% sure, without having to risk our bodies, right? And a lot of other variables. And so that's a fact. However, there are a lot of other factors that you have to consider in this journey, and none of them are bad. It's just understanding what you're getting into so that you can approach it from a vantage of understanding exactly what it looks like, right? And so one of those things I remember when I first got into entrepreneurship, I actually was working under the umbrella of another company, but it was kind of like a 100% commission type scenario, right? Where it's like, I got to leverage their infrastructure, their brand, but ultimately, like, it was still, I had to eat what I killed, right? And so they brought me into the fold. It was just like, hey, you can earn as much money as you want to make, and it's unlimited, which was all true. What they didn't tell me is that there was no guarantees, right? So like around 2 weeks it rolled around, I'm used to getting a paycheck about every week at this point, you know what I'm saying, before I transitioned. But like the second week rolled around, I was like, yo, like, where's the money? And it was like, well, that's on you, player. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's on you. And so I was like, wow, okay. Yes, I have unlimited income potential, but I have to make sure that I go out and produce and make that money, right? It's not just going to fall into your lap, right? And people aren't just going to beat down your door. Like this quote that I hate, build it and they will come. I like the concept behind it. Promote it, market it, yell from the rooftops, send an email, send a text, and then they will come. Yeah. Right. And so just understanding that just because you build it or just because you're in the game doesn't mean that you're going to make money, because you're competing with everybody, right? Like everybody, at the end of the day, like your lane is your lane, your market is your market. But if you don't show up and try to actively solicit new customers, you're not gonna make it, right? No matter how good your product or service is.
No, I love that. And I want to share a quick story, man. I don't think I told this on this podcast before. So when I started my business, thank God I had like an early mentor. And I went to, have breakfast with him, right before like I did my launch or whatever. And he was like, yeah, it's going to be ups and downs. He was like, just to give you like a threshold, a benchmark, like when he started his company, he was like a millionaire. He's like, man, when I started my company, I didn't have a client for the first 4 months of business. I'm like, you went 120 days with no paycheck? He's like, yeah, I went, 4 months with no. I'm like, okay, well, like, that's crazy. Like, but I'm gonna make sure I can, that doesn't happen to me, or that I can withstand that. So I threw this big I threw this big launch party for my business, like to launch, right? And I had like friends and family come. It was a dope event, and like, I'm ready for like the people to, sign up. So we had an event. I told people about the business. I gave a speech, and I told people like, write your name down or whatever, or like take my information and call me if you for my services or whatever.
Yeah.
Next day, nobody came. The next week, no call. Next month, nope. I went a little over 3 months before I got my first client, bro. And the only thing that really kept me going was like that 4-month benchmark that my mentor put in my head to let me know that I'm not crazy, that this is not an issue like that. Right. I just put in the work and focus on that. And when I got my first client, I was thinking about like, all right, well, I got it in less than 4 months. He was a Harvard Business School grad. So I did better than the Harvard Business School grad. I got my first client, and I say that jokingly, but I say that for everybody listening, like, yo, it might be a little bit of time before your business gets off the ground. Like it might be a little bit of time before people come. Like George says, like, the whole build it and they will come. Yes, but you have to show them where to go, right? Like we all know this. We all heard the quote, it ain't the best that gets the most business, it's the most well-known. So as entrepreneurs, I think that a lot of people struggle with is like voicing their business to other people because they're like not scared to market, they're scared to promote. So before we get into like the good, and it's a lot of good, it's a lot of great, but like one of the bad or whatever, it's like when you started, don't expect people to be kicking your door in to come do business with you. You know what I'm saying?
That's a whole fact, right? It's you have to build up momentum, right? You have to build up trust, you have to build up awareness. Like for me, like I was transitioning from a marketing role at Coca-Cola to the financial services industry as a 23-year-old kid, basically, right? So it's like how could I expect that people are just gonna like knock my door down to be their financial expert, right?
Mhm.
Like, nigga, I probably just loaned you some money a couple of years ago. Like, what are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? And so it's like just understanding like where they come from, right? So I think now we can both also give you a little bit of context on how to maybe make that transition a little less bumpy, right? So for me, I look at business a lot like a marriage, right? And I'm married. So like I used to reach out to guys before I made the decision, like, yo, what is marriage like? What do I need to be prepared for? And guys were holding their situation so close to the chest that they would tell me surface level answers like, oh, you got to communicate and you got to blah, blah, blah. I mean, actually, me and Carter had a really good conversation about marriage when I was out in, we were out in Austin together for FinCon. And I told myself in that moment, when I was getting those surface level answers, I wasn't going to be that guy. When people asked me, I was going to give them the real, not so that it would deter them, but so that they could be prepared for what they wanted to get into. And entrepreneurship is the same way. We're not trying to deter you to say, when you first get started, you're going to be wearing 17 hats. When you first get started, it's going to take you a little while before you get your first client. We're telling you so that you can be equipped to navigate the territory, right? So when we think about it, one of the best things you can do is to take some pressure off yourself is if it's possible. I know some people are forced into entrepreneurship, maybe you get laid off or whatever the case may be, but if possible, stack a little bit of cash, right? That's one thing you can do, right? To help ease the burden of getting clients from day one, right?
I had 15K saved, like, just full transparency. And I knew that if nothing else happened, I was good for like 12 months if I didn't get a client, because the way my expenses were set up. I think that's perfect. Like, just being candid, like I had $15,000 saved and I was fortunate to have that, but I know everybody doesn't. But yeah, man, like if you can, here's what I'll say. There's nothing more cool than starting a business and trying to figure out how you go pay rent the next month.
It's a fact.
You know what I'm saying? It's enough pressure as is. So if you can avoid like the short-term bills with, saving or having your partner step up or whatever, like I recommend people do that.
Yeah. And to Carter's point, keep your highs low and your lows high, right? So what I mean by that is when you get into entrepreneurship, your income is uncapped, right? So you might have months where, you get started, you're going, you're running. Oh, baby, you have your first 10K month, 15K month, 19K month, whatever, right? Then you might have another month where it's like $19, right? Like the ebbs and flows. So what you want to do is you want to set the baseline of your expenses and say, you know what, my business might have made X, Y, and Z, but George and Carter were only entitled to whatever your salary or your owner's draw is. And that's going to really keep you in a good position, because when you have those good months, when you have that momentum and then things kind of slow off and taper off a little bit, then what you're able to do is then if it slows down, you have the ability to still be okay because you didn't spend like you were crazy or out of your mind when you had a good month, right? So keep your highs low and your lows high. When you make a lot of money, you spend this. When you make a little bit of money, you spend this. And that will kind of level you out even when you have these ebbs and flows in the business.
Yeah, I love that, man. I think it's so important because it is tempting. Like, let's not act like it's not, right? Like when I have months where I'm looking at, high over 50K or over 100, I'm like, yo, I want to buy the Lamborghini truck. But then I'm like, do I really want to be on the line for a $4,000 a month expense, right? Yeah. That puts pressure on me. And here's the thing I never want people to do. I never want you in your business trying to solve long-term problems with short-term solutions, right? Because if you have these expenses, like now you got a $4,000 Lamborghini truck, now you got a $10,000 rent apartment, you're going to be scrambling to like make money on plays and like devalue your brand, devalue your business, or like go against some core ethics. So like, I'm like, no cap. I'm like, I know I have these times where I'm like, I want to get that car, or I want to get that, that penthouse. But like, no, because when it comes to serving my clients, serving my audience and building the business that I want to build, I never want to like create a product or a service out of the necessity of having to have money. You know what I'm saying?
No, that's so true, right? It's like you never want to put, most people in our culture, for the most part, right? You will get to a point where you understand how to just like take capital and maybe buy a business or start a business that you're not passionate about. But most people are starting businesses that they have some level of attachment to, right? That they're passionate about. In the moment that you put too much pressure on your passion, you'll start to resent the very thing that you used to love. Right? Don't put too much pressure on your passion, right? Put yourself in a position to where, like you can truly still enjoy what you're doing, because you don't need $20,000-$30,000 to float your lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? Like to this day, based upon where we live in Charlotte, and it's just not required. My wife works remotely from Facebook, right? We're a one-car household right now.
Yeah, you told me that. I was like, yeah, what? He said we're a one-car household. I'm like,
yeah,
no, you ain't.
you know what I'm saying? So it's like I had a 4 Series BMW, I tour rode it, all that good jazz, but just like I didn't need it, right? I didn't need it in this season of life. There will be a season here shortly.
I was say around the corner.
Yeah, you know, where I will be getting another car, but I was able to go 2.5, 3 years without a whip, and I took that extra money and invested it, right? Because I didn't need it. Could I afford it? Yes.
Because you bought enough Tesla stock to buy a Tesla, if I'm not mistaken, right?
That's a fact.
Hey, that was one of my favorite flexes that you ever made. Like you literally bought enough Tesla stock that your gains allow you to go purchase a Tesla if you wanted to.
If I wanted to, exactly. And there's power in that. Shout out to my guy David Shan. Just like we can afford this stuff, right? But there's power in just saying, you know what, I'm good on that. Not to say that I'm gonna give y'all a kicker. There will come a time when y'all like, yo, can y'all relax a little bit, right? Yeah. But like right now, we're just, building, enjoying the process, not putting too much pressure on ourselves, and being able to show up in this way for you guys where we don't gotta, hey, can you guys join our Patreon account because we gotta monetize everything. Yeah. Yes, we're entrepreneurs and we're intentional about what we monetize, but we can show up on Instagram and provide value, or show up on the podcast and provide value and build our community and not have to monetize everything, because we don't have this undue pressure that says, hey, bro, like, you're looking at them bills. you better find a way to run up a bag on this, because we didn't put ourselves in that position. And I think that's a key thing as an entrepreneur, to put yourself in a position to thrive, so that you're not having to, like, and I hate to use this terminology, but slut yourself out in every possible way just to make money.
And that's again, I don't want to use that term, but like I love that point, because I see, especially, let's talk about social media right quick. Let's go on a slight little tangent. You see people on social media who, like, every time they post something, it's about either buying something, or it's like they're supporting brands they don't even like really use, and it's like disgusting to see. Like we had an episode on branding and how important keeping your brand is, and I see them and I feel so sorry for them, because I know they're not doing this out of a place of malicious intent, but they got so excited about their business, prospering early, that they started to have lifestyle creep, and now they're living outside of their means. And again, as an entrepreneur, like, you got to understand, it is a roller coaster ride, baby. Buckle up the seatbelts. Right. You know what I'm saying? Giant drop. It is a roller coaster ride. And if you flatline, like, you're spending, you can enjoy the highs and lows. Like, I love learning from my lows. Like I when I have low months, or when I have like, and I would just be fully transparent, like the last month and a half, I felt like I was way too focused on money. Right? Like I had this 6-figure month in July, and it kind of like made me feel like I had to make at least over $100,000 a month. And I found myself like just doing things and like presenting myself in a place of like money over value, or income over impact. And I got really disgusted at myself. So I was talking to my girl, shout out to Tanya Rapley. We hopped on a live together, and she like admitted, she was like, I'm slowing down to speed up. She was like, I'm slowing down in Q4. Like, we're in a mastermind together, a hard-hitting mastermind. Everybody want to make money. So you can get blinded, but she had like the wherewithal and the mental presence to understand, like, I want to slow down, and I want to like focus on my nurturing, focus on my brand, focus on my purpose, so I can speed up in Q1. And I felt like, me hearing that, it allowed me to embrace that and slow down as well, because again, there's enough money to go around, but like, I didn't get into this to like put too much pressure on my passion and only want to make this income a thing called money, just so I can show people I'm living a lifestyle that they say I should live. You know what I'm saying?
All right. That's a fact. Nah, man. And I'm just glad that we were able to be, candid about, these ebbs, these flows, just the things that you need to be aware of, as an entrepreneur, not to deter you, because we love it. We're living the life right now. Right. But it's just like, we want to share insights that people either don't share on social, because they only share, I'm making 6-figure months and I have these screenshots, and I'm not showing you the expenses. They're not showing you, not showing you the fact that they don't have automations and systems in place, and they're burnt out because they're doing everything. No one's showing that, right? So we want to tell you that that's a real reality and a real part of the process temporarily if you don't put the right systems in place. So now I think it's a great opportunity for us to talk about some of the great pros of entrepreneurship, right? So one of the pros is what you're looking at right now, right? I'm not sure if you can hear it, but there's the ocean, in the background, while I'm having this podcast and just being able to live life on my own terms. Now, did I put in a hell of amount of work to put myself in this position to where I can do that? Absolutely. But being able to do that is priceless, right? Not wondering, do I have enough PTO days left? Or can I take this trip? Like that's an extremely rewarding feeling as an entrepreneur, is to have that autonomy to either just enjoy my life and not work, and or work from anywhere.
And give a tip on top of that pro. I think we should both give a pro and a tip on how we got to that point. So your pro was obviously you're in Jamaica and the ocean's in the background. You probably haven't checked your accounts since you've been down there, because you don't have to. Haven't checked in on like time. What would you say is a tip that helped you get to this point?
Yes. People, systems don't fail, people do. Right. So putting in the right systems in place that can allow your business to run without you. Now, people are an integral part of the system, but you have to have the system in place that the people can operate by. So like, for example, Carter and I both leverage virtual assistants, some of which that aren't domestic, right? And so in order for us to leverage them, we have to have crystal clear standard operating procedures that those people can follow, right? Because that system isn't going to fail. What would fail is a person who doesn't follow the system, right? And so like understanding that is key. So for me, putting the right systems in place, and every single month before the month starts, I ask myself a few questions. If I look at my calendar, I go through every task and I say, can this be delegated? It's the first question. Yes or no? Can it be automated? Yes or no? Or at least, can it be done more efficiently? Because sometimes something might not be able to be completely delegated. Maybe it can't be completely automated, but it probably can be done more efficiently. So I'm asking myself those three questions, right? Or if I get to the third one, and that way I can be real with myself. Am I putting the right system in place that allows me to create a business that can run without me?
I love that. You stole mine, so I'm gonna have to think of another one. But I think the pro, so many pros of entrepreneurship. I'm trying to think of one I haven't said already. I just love owning. I love this most about entrepreneurship. I love owning my time and learning new things about myself. I tell people all the time, entrepreneurship is the greatest self-reflection or self-awareness journey that you're going to have, because you're going to see the different parts of you and how you act when things go right and how you act when things go wrong. And I love just owning everything about me as a person. And I think it's helping me become more of a man, because I'm just learning so much more about myself. So one thing, I think that's one like pro I haven't shared on this podcast about entrepreneurship. And yeah, the money's great, the freedom's great, the traveling, I know I love to travel, but just like building self-confidence is a crazy attribute I think is not talked about enough. Like knowing that I can go learn anything I want to in a week, like or less, is so powerful to me. So if I don't know something, I have the power of knowing I can go learn it and go implement it tomorrow and it help it grow my business. That is one of the most powerful things in the world to me. And that's why I always try to keep learning and keep growing, because I know I have the capacity to literally learn and do anything. So that's a pro. I think a tip, man, is a good tip that we haven't talked about before, I guess, at least on this podcast about entrepreneurship, is I think it's so important to find people who help you build a bigger dream that you set out to start, right? And like they say, good people are not trained, they're found, right? So finding good people to help you support the dream that you have is such an important aspect of your business. Like again, you preached about Samantha and how you saw more in her than she saw in herself, and you have helped build her up, and now she basically runs your businesses for you. And my executive assistant Antoinette, like I don't even run my life anymore. She knows more about what I got going on than I got going on, right? And it's like you have to get people around you because your vision is too big and too powerful to only be supported by you, right? So you have to find other people to help build your dream up and to what it ultimately can be.
Yeah, that's a great point. Just to piggyback off of that, it's like when you start as an entrepreneur, right? You think you got to be the CEO, the COO, the CFO, and you wear all these hats, primarily based upon budget, right? It's like, well, I'm just getting started. I can't even afford to pay myself, so like I got to do everything, right? I'm creating the graphics. There was a point in my life. It's crazy to think back, right? With the podcast, y'all know I had other podcasts before this. I used to edit the podcast, right? Now, granted, like you were at a point by the time we met that you could like outsource it from the gate. But like, when I first started my podcast, it was like 2017. Like I found out all the equipment. Like this is my first mic. The graphics, the true editing, taking out the ums and ahs and all that stuff. Now, granted, for this type of podcast, we don't really do a lot of editing. One, because we about this content life, and it ain't so much editing you got to do at this point, right? You know what I'm saying? But back then, it was a little risky. Like you had to take out some of them ums and verbal fillers. I did everything: the graphics, the uploading, the editing, and just like that was a lot, right? And so just like I don't even remember why I brought that up, but the point is you think that you have to do everything, right? And so one of the key things is realizing that when you look at the greatest entrepreneurs of our era, right? We think about the Jeff Bezos, the Mark Zuckerbergs of the world, because they're entrepreneurs too, right? When you think about them, they all own on average less than 15% of their company, right? So what I would say is, as a small business owner, I'm not saying just run out and just find people that you can just throw equity at. What I'm saying is don't be afraid to bring people into the fold that can help support your vision to take it to new heights, right? If you're generating enough money where all those people can be employees or contractors, great. But if you identify somebody who you can partner with, who you see as an equal and they're, based upon the skill or the value they bring to the marketplace, don't be afraid to partner with them, right? So for this company, right, Melanin Money started out as a merchandise brand by itself. Now we have 3 pillars, and 2 of those 3 pillars I have business partners in, and Carter is one of those business partners. Jacqueline is one of those business partners, right? And so like, and they will be business partners on the merch side. So what I say all that to say, imagine if I was so egotistical, so like I'm the only person that's supposed to lead the charge and be executive leadership and do all this stuff. What that would mean is I would be, sorry for the background noise, party boat. Yeah, that's what I guess.
I'm about to say, man, I feel bad. No, I think we need to wrap this episode up so we can let you go back to having fun, man. But go ahead.
Yeah. But yeah, so like imagine if I was so egotistical where I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do it all myself and it's all on me and no one can do it like I can do it, right? Then I would be strapped and burdened with all the work. One thing I always say is if you want 100% of the bag, then you got to do 100% of the work. And I just don't want to do 100% of the work. You know what I'm saying? I want to partner with people, and it's a lot more fun. Have we not been having fun these past several months?
It's lit, bro. Like I was always scared to like own a company with somebody because like work ethic and like personalities, but it's lit, bro. Like it's not lonely as entrepreneurship usually is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So it's like don't be afraid. Now again, be intentional, and and have documentation in place and all that good stuff. But don't be afraid to, number one, get help. Right? Maybe help isn't, you're not starting out with partners, but don't be afraid to get help. And then if the opportunity presents itself, if you vibe really well with someone or they have a skill set or a strength that you don't have, don't be afraid to lock arms with somebody to build something bigger. Would you rather have 100% of something small or, 30, 40%, 20% of something, gargantuan? So that's my thing. Just don't be afraid to like partner and collaborate.
I love it, man. I love it. And again, man, we don't want to hold you because being an entrepreneur, you deserve this vacation time. So before we wrap, I just want to tell the people, if y'all enjoyed this episode, man, go ahead and leave a review. Go ahead and subscribe to the podcast. Again, we come here for you all. But again, Georgia's on vacation, but we want to make sure we're here consistently. So if you enjoyed the episode, man, go ahead and give it a subscribe. Go give a like, and then go ahead and leave a review on. We really want you to leave a review on who your favorite host is. I know we know Jacqueline's not here, but y'all heard her voice before. It's me anyway. So like, you just leave a review and let us know who your favorite host is, and we would appreciate it. Any final words, George?
Now, other than that, if you're gonna be an entrepreneur, don't be a liar, right? Like Carter just like blatantly just lied to who y'all's favorite host is. But now, last words are just stay true to yourself. Don't, if you decide to venture down this road of entrepreneurship or you're already in this lane, like don't get blindsided by what everybody else is doing. Just stay in your own lane. Do what your heart desires, and never be afraid to evolve, right? Because I also don't want you to confuse staying in your own lane with like evolving, right? And finding new ways to take your life and your business and everything that you care about to the next level. So again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. And outside of telling everybody that I'm your favorite host, also let us know any content or any current events or anything that you would like us to cover, whether that be on the podcast, whether that be on social. We want us to be your go-to source when it comes to building wealth, personal finance, and entrepreneurship. So if you see something on these internet streets and it looks a little risky, or you need more context, ask us, right? We would love to answer those questions. Matter of fact, Carter, before we wrap up, we've got, before Q4 is over, we've got to figure out an easy way for our listeners to be able to submit either a voice note or a video that we can add post editing and answer it in real time, right? We got to figure that out, whether it's a video, a voice note, or we'll take a written note and we'll read it, whatever you're comfortable with, but being able to submit your questions so that we can answer it on real time on the podcast, which is basically like free consulting, right? So whenever we come up with that, y'all don't flood us with questions, y'all tripping. So let's figure that out before Q4 is over.
Let's figure it out. We have to add that to the list. Well, all right, y'all. We appreciate y'all for tuning in. We'll see y'all next time on the next episode. But again, stay blessed and never stressed. Peace.